Regular council meeting for the city of Minnetrista, November 20th. So first of all, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of those here this evening, and also all of those watching on YouTube later on. Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and I wish you all a very happy, festive get-together with family and friends. Just a reminder, if you have cell phones or electronic devices, please put them on airplane mode or turn them on silent so they don't disrupt our meeting here. So with that, would you please, the first order is to join me in a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So with that, first we'll start with introductions, and I will start at that end this evening where Miss Cassandra Tabor, who is our Director of Administration, is sitting, and next to her is our City Clerk, Kris Linquist, and then we have on the end of our credenza here, we have Paul Hornby with WSB, our attorney, excuse me. Do you want to change? WSB, our engineer. And then we have council members, Shannon, Mike Molitor, Pam Mortenson, Patricia Thoele. I'm Lisa Whalen, I'm the mayor. And to my right, our city administrator, Mike Barone. Brian Grimm is our finance director. David Abel is our community development director. And then sitting in for Ron Beatty, who is our regular attorney with Kennedy and Graven tonight, is Andrew Biggerstaff. Welcome, Mr. Biggerstaff. And then on the end is our chief of police, Paul Falls. Okay, crossed off. All right, so next we'll move on. We don't have any special presentations this evening, and I don't have anybody signed up under persons to be heard, so we'll move on to our consent agenda items. Our consent agenda items consist of approve our work session meeting minutes from November 6, 2017. B is approve our regular meeting minutes from November 6, 2017. C is approve claims. D is accept improvements and authorize final payment for the 2017 mill and overlay to William Mueller and Sons. And E is approve a not to waive municipal tort liability monetary limits. It's kind of a mouthful. And F is approve probation completion for Mike Pollock, who is our new water treatment plant operator. And G is approve our step increase for Aaron Rassett, who is Public Works maintenance worker. H is a step increase for Sergeant Pat Cummings, who is with our police department. And I is accept public improvements for Woodland Cove First Edition. And J is accept public improvements for Orchard Cove.
Madam Mayor, can
Yes.
we go back and accept the agenda first?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just was moving along at that. So with that, is there approval to accept the agenda? Thank you.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Ms. Thoele made the motion and Ms. Mortenson seconded that. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. It's a short meeting, so I'm just trying to make it even shorter. All right, with that, is there a motion then to approve? Are there any consent agenda items you wish to remove? Otherwise, it consists of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J, as I read. A motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Bruce made that motion and Mr. Molitor seconded. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Moving right along to, we have no public hearings this evening, so business items is approve the city meeting calendar for 2018. Ms. Linquist.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, every year we have to approve city meetings so that the city officials, staff, and members of the general public know what will be happening for the following year. Usually what happens is if we have a meeting that's regularly scheduled around a holiday or an election, that meeting is moved to the next business day. So typically the council cancels public meetings close to Independence Day and Christmas holiday each year. So if you've noticed on the schedule, there is only one meeting in July and one meeting in December. 2018 is going to be an election year, so we have a few changes that we'll be needing to make for November. because we'll have to certify the election results within 3 to 10 business days after the election, which is Tuesday, November 6th. So we are proposing, staff is requesting that the work session and city council meeting be rescheduled to Tuesday, November 13th. It'll be Tuesday because Veterans Day will be that Monday, added to the confusion. And then also we're requesting to cancel the November 19th meeting since that would only give staff a couple days to prepare something for a council meeting. As in past, the Planning Commission meets on the fourth Monday of every month, and they, with the exception of December, so that is still planned. And then there's a couple changes for the Parks Commission. They usually meet the second Tuesday of every month, with the exception of August and November this year because of elections. The August meeting would be moved to the 15th due to the primary elections, and their November meeting would be moved to the 14th due to we're having a council meeting on the Tuesday they were supposed to meet. So they will meet on Wednesday the 15th then.
Okay.
I believe that's all.
The 14th. They would meet.
They would meet on the 14th,
Yeah,
right.
Wednesday the 14th.
Wednesday
Yeah.
the 14th.
And this will be posted on our website as well?
Correct.
Okay, so anybody wanting to look, they would have ample notice or time and available, be able to see that. Okay. Any questions? Wish to change anything? Okay. Then is there a motion to approve the resolution, which is number 199-17, approving the city meeting calendar for 2018?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made by Ms. Thoele and seconded by Ms. Bruce. Further questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. So now we'll move on to our next item, and that is approve City Hall workplace security option and discuss the LMCIT loss control meeting and security report or survey.
Correct. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to walk you through my packet item here on this particular topic and would be able to answer any questions as we go or at the end. It doesn't matter to me either way. Just a little background on this. We did have Mr. Tracy Stilley from the LMCIT Loss Control. He's a loss control consultant, public safety specialist. He used to be a captain in the Maple Grove Police Department before he transitioned to this career. So we met with him back in August, both Brian, Grimm, Cassandra, Tabor, and I. And then Elizabeth Tatsy, who's our loss control rep for the city, has been assigned here for about the last year as our main rep. And we all met and talked about some of the things that my request was to see if we could see their view on enhancing security for our front customer service desk area. We met in August. A few weeks later from Mr. Stilley, I did get a confirmation letter outlining, I believe there were 6 recommendations on there. I included the letter from him in your packet for you to review. Essentially of those 6 items, the last 3 items were all policy related questions, and we will be doing some more research and eventually presenting and proposing things to the council in 2018 on those 3. What I hope to focus a little bit more on tonight are the first 3 items that were about building safety and security. So there was 3 items. The first one had to do with a physical barrier change to our front customer service desk. As the council remembers, back in I believe July, whenever we proposed the preliminary budget, we had earmarked $30,000 for a minor remodel of our customer service area. Not knowing what that would cost, that was just our best guess at the time. We did find out from the meeting with Mr. Stiller that there were grants available. There are matching grants up to $20,000, so you could get up to $10,000 depending on the cost of your project. So it could buy down some of the cost of that. So that was one of the options he talked about. The 2 other options that were reported on by Mr. Stilley in his report to me, one we knew about. One was a panic button. We had talked about this earlier. It's kind of a low-cost option, but we did talk about a panic button. That's where both the council chambers and the front customer service desk would be wired to push a button and it would signal an alarm company who would then call 911 dispatch and then dispatch our police. That seems a little cumbersome. Why don't we just call police directly? That's been as we talked about that in the past, that was at the request of Chief Falls. We don't have a large enough police department, but there will always be people available to hear an alarm. So as smaller communities do, they'll install a panic button that will send a signal to the alarm company, and then they'll be dispatched. And it's relatively small amount of time that would take versus a direct call. If we call directly, there may be a chance that they don't hear or see
They
it right
weren't
away,
there.
which would be the opposite of what we want. And the final item that came down from Mr. Stilley was a lockdown button. And so I will go through that as well as the panic button here in a second. I described the finances related to the remodel that would take. I haven't really had a chance to explore those yet. It's been difficult to find a vendor. But one of the things I wanted to explore a little bit more and spent a little bit more time on was contacting USA Security, who did our upgrade on our ID access card system and camera system recently, and had the representative that actually did the work for us on that project come out and to talk a little bit about what it would entail to have a panic button. Panic button or a lockdown button would be exactly that. That would retrofit all there's 6 doors that are serve as our front entrance way. And after getting the quote from that, I quickly realized that wasn't going to be something that was going to be very financially feasible. So the final item that we explored and I asked about was just the panic button only, and the price for that came back at $2,800, and then with the annual maintenance, year one, you're looking at about $3,200, a little more than that, to go with the panic button. And just to talk a little bit about some of the thinking that went in that, I know there's the percentage of having an occurrence here would be fairly small, but I would hope that the council would agree that we're really not exempt here from the possibility of that having an event here, and it seems like there's more of them. It seems like there's one in the news every week these days. But I was concerned about what both past and present employees have said about how they feel about where they're at and as far as the security that they have as employees here. It's kind of hard to tell them that we really don't feel as if their security is not as important when you go right next door to our police department and they have a locked environment with bulletproof glass. I don't see any difference between the customer service people there and the customer service people here. I think they're all worth dealing with. The difference is that this building was built in 1990 and that one was built in 2011. So those kind of things weren't really thought of.
Wait.
Well, it was completed we started in 2011. So we do have an open concept here at our front customer service desk, and so it's always a balance between trying to provide enough security for our staff versus trying to remain open and friendly so people don't feel like they're at a stalag or something when they come visit us here. So I feel that there's some value there in providing that security, even though the chance of having something happen is quite small. And I'm not just relying on media reports or whatever. I mean, I'm relying on people like Mr. Stilley, who does this for his business. He's quite competent at what he does, and his suggestions carry a lot of weight with me as the administrator, trying to figure out a way to try to enhance some security with our customer service staff. So tonight, what I'm proposing is to go with the panic button option. It's the lowest cost of the 3. I did have a discussion with one of our council members today, and it was like, well, is it a waste of money? And I really don't even think it would be a waste of money, even if we did some additional changes to the front of the building in the future. I think we could retrofit whatever panic button location there is to a new setup for if we do a remodel to the front desk in a year or 2 or whenever. Right now, they have no security, and so this is obviously a step up for them. So this is a bit of a compromised position. I'm not willing at this point to say that we need to do the remodel, but I don't want to cancel that idea altogether in the future. I think our customer service people who I had a chance to talk with last week, because I wanted them to know about this situation before I put it on the agenda, they were comfortable with having that panic button security there. The other thing that we do have, and I mentioned in my report, is I think we have one station that has the ability with the alarm system and the ID camera system, as they do in PD, to monitor a certain set of doors. And so I could believe Dawn's station has that right now. It's not always up on her screen, but it can be. And we can probably have that also put in on Anisha's computer, and then we're actually thinking of putting it on Angie's computer, even though Angie doesn't spend a lot of time at the front desk. She's kind of a backup to both of those people. You know, at lunchtime, there's either one or the other gone for about a 2-hour period. And there are times when, you know, we do have the bell there, so we'll ring it for service. So, because somebody has to run an errand or whatever it might be, even within the building, to leave it unattended, we ask people to hit the bell, and Angie will run up, or Kris will run up, or somebody. Sometimes Nick runs up, depending on who's here, to try to get some customer service there as quick as we can. And it's not just for the personal protection of those people. You know, we have a cash drawer up there. If you're here, a lot of people pay their bill in person, their water bill and utility bills in person. It's not too hard to figure out where the cash drawer is if you come here a couple of times. We lock it up every night in a different room behind a keystroke entry card access door, but you know, it's there during the day. And then there's also, even overnight, like tonight, if there's a computer station out there, somebody can just run in and grab it while we're here even. So the nice part of this panic button system is, you know, start tonight, sometimes during the year, you know, we're in a meeting, it's still light out, you could see people coming up and we could hit the panic button, whether it's here or at the front customer service desk. So I'll stand for any questions concerning this topic, but I'm recommending that we go forward with the panic button option. It gets us part of the way there for our front desk security eventually, but I think it's a good option for now.
So this would eliminate the $30,000 that we have in our budget for the
Correct.
remodel?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So reduce the
So we could reduce that
Okay.
$30,000 amount down to
Yeah.
26, 27, whatever
Yeah.
it cost
Okay.
us for this. And we can talk about this in another day, so.
But
Okay.
still paint the lobby.
We still paint the lobby.
Yeah, I've had that same question come up with a number of different council members.
It's
over
been
the-
years.
It has been.
There are patched parts that aren't painted. It
Yep.
needs to be painted.
Yep, and there's a lot of things that need to be done for maintenance here. And I had a discussion with Mr. Molitor today a little bit about maintenance, and you know, it's a tough nut to crack. I mean, we work here, we like it to look nice. We don't need, as he said, we don't need marble, but you know, we need probably new tile. Those doors are not ADA compliance. We're grandfathered in on those, so if we'd ever change the frontage to it, we're gonna have to get new doors. You mentioned the paint. I have a computer room where we have our servers. Right now, the door is left open. It's behind a secured door, but the door actually does have a security keystroke on it to prevent anybody unauthorized from going in there. But right now, I can't shut the door because it gets too warm in there with all those servers. It needs and we've known it for years, we need a standalone air conditioning system for that particular room, just as they have over at PD. And when they constructed their building, they have an IT room where they have all their servers, so, and phone equipment and things of that nature. So those are all things we need to do here, and I can see incorporating that into some other larger project, whether it's painting or whatever, but maybe we can break it up into smaller projects. But there are a number of building maintenance things that do need to happen here, so.
Okay.
I have a question. Have we ever had an incident where we needed to call the police department to come over to the city hall for any reason?
That's a good question, Madam Mayor, members of council. We have had, I would say, a number of incidents over the years that I can recall where they have just called next door. The reason that I personally don't recommend that is we have Lori and Amy working up there, but they often are at the counter, which means they're away from their phone or they're in the back doing evidence or other things. So the whole purpose behind the panic button is that it goes to an alarm company. So that automatically goes to dispatch then, and then dispatches either our police or automatically if our police are tied up on a call, they'll get someone else to respond. So there's no delay whatsoever. We don't have somebody who's essentially untrained at trying to figure out who to get to come and respond to this issue. So the panic button makes perfect sense that way. So to answer your question, yes, we've had some incidents over the years. And I can't think of specifics off the top of my head without going through a bunch of data, but it's been pretty much just picking up the phone and calling next door and hoping that somebody answers it. The camera system, I think, has been very helpful. I know there was some mention of cameras. I think it's important for the staff up front to have the cameras up on their computers, but more importantly, in my opinion, it's important for these people in the back, or at least some of the people in the back, to have the cameras up, just as we do. Some of us monitor the cameras. We have dual screens. Most of the cameras obviously are for the public safety building, but we do, I've instructed our staff to at least have the lobby up in there so we can see if there's an issue going on. There's no guarantee that, again, anyone's monitoring that based on what they're working on, if both screens are taken up or if they're even at their desk. So just by having that redundancy, I think is a good thing. And that technology already exists. There's no additional cost. You just add the program to whoever's computer you want to have access, and that piece is done. So that's kind of, I guess, my long-winded way of answering your question.
And to follow up a little bit on Chief Falls, we have had a few instances. Nothing's life-threatening, but you don't know these days what's going to set somebody off if they are upset about a bill or whatever. I think David got chased across the parking lot one time.
I was just going to chime in, Madam Mayor and Council. I was involved in a couple of the instances, and the big thing, there was a couple medicals. We've had 2 people that needed medical attention up in the lobby. That's occurred, and luckily we have the ambulance station right here.
If they're there.
But in all of the situations in my time here, there's been multiple people. So you've got someone can distract the upset person while someone goes and calls. And so that's not always the case. There's times when you're alone up there. So that to me would be the fear of if you're caught up there alone. And I think what I hear from the customer service representatives up there is those times when they're there alone, there's no one there to help out the situation. We were fortunate in the situations that I witnessed or was involved in, that there was multiple people where, I did the distracting and people called and got people over here to take care of the situation and escort people out of the building. So.
If this takes the remodel of the front desk area off the table, I would support this.
We'll for this next year.
For this
Then
particular
we'll
budget.
have to revisit it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point. But
Yeah.
I'm supportive of this. I mean, I think that's a good alternative. Again, it's not. Again, we may have to look at more down the road, but I think it's a good alternative.
I agree.
And then to kind of piggyback a little bit on Brian's memo that he had on the workshop thing, he talked about lowering the budget 0.5% to 1%. This would be part of that. So we don't know the exact number, but we will crunch numbers, and when we get to our next meeting, since we have to pass our budget that night, we'll have that information.
Right.
So
And then we talked about getting numbers for the parking lot.
the
and
parking lot is the other
so-
thing. I know Gary's been
Yeah.
working on that. He was gone for a week or so out in California with his son graduating, I guess is the word to use
Yes,
from the Marines.
Right. Boot camp.
Boot camp.
Mhm.
He just got back middle of last week and then had to work a couple of late nights in the sewer game. So we haven't had a chance to connect on some of the numbers. I know he's got, for sure, one. I think he's got a second. And so we can talk about that as well when we get to the budget that night, because I know that's a topic that needs to be addressed and finished up before we can approve a final number. So.
Okay. So tonight we don't have to make we don't have to pass a motion for this, or did you want a motion?
Yes, I'm looking for
Okay.
a motion to.
Okay.
Before you
Yep,
make,
that's
could
fine.
I just ask a question?
Sure.
As it will be presented, does this include the safe swap spot in the parking lot? Or was that another piece? Does it ring any bells?
That doesn't ring a bell.
Like for people that are doing
That was
Craigslist transactions?
Some other city did that? It
Yep.
wasn't proposed as part of this.
Oh.
No,
Okay,
we're not
okay.
doing that yet.
But there are more policies that we will be exploring. And then there's some training and stuff too that
Yep.
I saw in here that,
Yep, we'll get
that
to
actually
next
could
year.
be council as well as staff.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
there'll be some more things
I think what
coming.
Councilmember Whalen was talking about, there was an example, I think, in the article that I have reprinted that talked about as part of their building design construction, they focused a camera on a part of the parking lot at whatever city it was, Forest Lake or
Forest
whatever.
Lake.
Okay, yeah.
That if you wanted to do a transaction there with somebody from a Craigslist, so you didn't want to get, mugged or whatever
okay.
at your house, you could meet them there and it'll get recorded. At least you have the peace of mind knowing that your transaction is going to be recorded on a police video for future.
Sure.
If somebody hits you on the head and takes your whatever.
Yeah, they gave that example, and then also custody exchanges.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which kind
I
of
think we
makes
have
sense.
And we could do that in front of the, I mean, people could do that in front of the police station, I suppose.
There are people that do.
Yeah.
Right,
That-
that
that
practice
do
currently
have a
exists.
budget.
We aren't part of the Safe Swap program per se, but there are a lot of custody exchanges and other transactions that
Okay.
take place out front just because of the location and the fact that we have cameras.
You have cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Good to know. Yeah. All right. Okay, then, is there a motion then to approve the City Hall workplace security option?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Ms. Mortenson made the motion and Ms. Thoele seconded then. Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. So we'll move on to administrative items such as staff reports. City Administrator, Mr. Barone.
Yep, just 3 short ones. The mayor, Cassandra Tabor, and I will be attending the LMC Metro meeting next Wednesday, the 29th. That's most of the afternoon and early evening. Our final meeting is 2 weeks from tonight, Monday, December 4. And then just a reminder that city offices are closed both Thursday and Friday for the Thanksgiving holidays. And I think I've got Paul Hornby teed up just to give a update on the status of our ongoing winter road projects, I guess. Soon to be winter road.
Honorable Mayor and members of the council, just an update for Halstead Drive. If you've been down there, it's paved.
It's paved, I know, I drove it.
That was a challenge in the weather. I think there's an area that is going to have to come out.
Yeah, it's low, yeah.
Yeah, there's an area where they were having some issues with the temperature and density. So that I know the contractors are both aware of it. I haven't had any formal discussion with them on it, but I think they're well aware it's got to come out.
That'll be next spring,
But that we're going to leave it in through the
Yeah.
winter.
okay.
Yeah, we're not going to take anything out. We're not chancing anything at this
Yeah,
point.
right.
So, in fact, I think there's one paving company that laid off the majority of its workers on Friday, and they still have some work to do for us as well. So, the driveways on Halstead Drive have all been tied in, so we can get people through the winter without going through gravel. Going from pavement to gravel to pavement. Farm Hill Drive, those driveway tie-ins are remaining, and they plan to shape those up tomorrow and then pave them on Wednesday. There are some items that are going to run into 2018. There's a retaining wall if you've been at that north 90-degree turn. They actually might work on that the winter if the weather cooperates, but we're also providing some additional information to contractors so they can design the wall. They'll be doing their final grading touch-up. The splitter islands for the roundabout, those will have to go in next year. We left them out this year for ease of paving. I actually am looking into using a striped island. My designer's not too comfortable thinking that's going to get through state aid, but we'll make that request. The final lift of pavement will go in next year with the exception of the roundabout. We had them put the wear course, the final lift on the roundabout. And we did that so that the curb didn't get damaged during snow plowing. So we ramped the pavement up to keep the plows running on the pavement, not on the curb.
So it won't get another course, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay,
So when we put the splitter islands in,
yeah.
we're either going to paint them or we're going to saw cut the bituminous and pour the curb
Mhm.
in the saw cut area. And then we have the remaining the striping and the final grading touch-up and seeding that'll occur next year. There are still some things they're working on. There's some windrows along the roadways that they're knocking down so the snowplows don't hit those when they're frozen. And there's some other minor things that'll keep moving forward. They're still doing some temporary seeding, erosion control. They were going full bore on that today. There's some stockpiles that need to be removed. There's some driveways that we've got to cut back and finish up. I think there's one that we have to actually have Excel relocate the service for the home
Oh,
because
gosh.
it's in the way. It's in the conflict. That's been ongoing for way too long. Not really an Excel issue, not necessarily a city issue. Enchanted Lane and Tuxedo, the city portion's paved. They're planning to pave the Met Council portion Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tomorrow or Wednesday?
Correct.
Okay.
And then they're also working on driveway tie-ins. To quote my construction inspector, don't come out here right now. When the Met Council was doing the open cutting, so the contractors kind of stayed out of each other's way. Boat launch will probably need some additional work because it's not in good shape. There's timbers poking up through the bottom of it, and we may end up just removing that pavement and just repaving it next year.
And on Enchanted that's just the wear course as well?
The wear course is remaining next year, so the
base course is
the
done.
base course is
Okay,
done.
and so the wear course comes in next spring?
Correct.
whatever,
And
okay.
then Grandview also got the base course on.
Okay.
And we had to tie in a couple of difficult driveways on that one, and it actually turned out looking pretty nice.
Okay.
So, and our property owners are happy with the end product, so that's good news. And then for developments, we have Woodland Cove Lake Second Edition.
Mhm.
They're working on the dirt work portion of the streets. They're putting their subgrade correction and aggregate base until temperature prevents them from doing so. And they want to get at least a portion of the street in because they have a home they've got a permit on it, I believe. I think there's one permit.
That's a second edition.
Lake Second Edition.
Yeah, okay.
And then Woodland Cove Third, they're working on utilities. I understand they have 4 utility crews in there. So no streets this year unless we have a major warm-up, but they're trying to get all the utilities in. So I think that's kind of the round robin on what we've got going today,
Okay.
this week, and obviously temperature is going to play into it. Tomorrow is supposed to be quite cold, so we'll have to see if they actually do any paving tomorrow.
Yeah, it's supposed to be quite cold, yeah. Okay.
Are they putting the lines on Halsted before winter?
No. We won't be striping it. We'll be putting the signage up, and then we're working on some temporary markers where the splitter islands would be for the roundabout.
Will they stripe it next year after the wear course is done?
Yes, yeah, we'll
Okay.
stripe it then.
Okay.
And you could debate whether it needs the centerline striping or not, but if you look at Highland hasn't ever been striped, at least that new part.
And they asked about that, I know, in one of our meetings. Why was it never striped, or shouldn't it be striped?
I wasn't involved with that one. I can't tell you
Okay.
that specifically, but we can certainly add it to. Well, we could add it to the Halsted project if we wanted to. Striping is not that expensive, so we could certainly add that to that, or we could also ask Public Works to have that striped and lay out a plan for them to do that.
Okay. All right, great. Any other staff reports? Otherwise, we'll move to council. We'll start with Ms. Bruce.
Yeah, I attended the mayor and council. I attended the St. Bonnie Fire Advisory Board meeting, and we talked a little bit about water supply issues in Hunter's Crest. And Chief Weber indicated that they'd been out to one of the areas in Hunter's Crest. There was a lightning strike, and they actually had to pull hoses for putting out a fire there. And he said that when they pulled the fire hoses, they actually hooked up to the hydrants to use the water. And he said that it felt like, that's the words that he used, there was more than 500 gallons a minute coming out of those hydrants, and he questioned whether we should have those hydrants tested because they might be rated higher than we thought.
So he wants less pressure or more pressure?
He thinks there's more pressure, there's more than 500 gallons per minute
Okay.
coming out of those hydrants. And the rating is something Mr. Hornby probably
Sure,
understands
okay.
better than I
It's
do.
for fire rating, yeah.
But, so maybe that's a topic we can put on a work agenda, is to talk about what the costs for rating those hydrants would be, because it would require somebody to come out and test them, or test some of them, to see what the gallons per minute are coming out of them, because I understand we've never tested them. And what I did some Googling of the topic, and they recommend hydrants be tested every 3 to 5 years. It varies what you read. But before, and it also comes into play when homeowners are purchasing or developers are building homes and putting in sprinkler systems in homes, knowing that rating and how much pressure is in those pipes is important. So there's multiple reasons to do it, but it's probably a work session agenda item that we could look into
Sure.
talking about.
Real quick, Paul, do you have any comments on that? I mean,
We have a water model for the city. And if you recall, when we were doing our water system improvements, we had done some flow testing, especially in the south, between the south and central system. And it's something we can do that also includes Hunter's Crest. The limiting factor for Hunter's Crest and that long 2.5 mile trunk water main is that it's really undersized to provide. In that area should have about 750 gallons a minute, and you draw that off of that rate off of 2 hydrants. So you want 1,500 gallons a minute for firefighting. That's why they have to haul out the reservoirs to be able to fill a reservoir on site, and then they also use tanker trucks to bring water in. But it's something that can be done. It also depends on what time it is, how much water we have in our tank, on what that flow is going to be. If it's in a peak day in the middle of July, you're probably not going to have that kind of draw on it. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking at a future tank on the side of the city to help alleviate that issue.
and maybe we can bring it back to a work session, maybe January, February sometime, so we can get more information on
And
it.
costs aren't huge
yeah.
to do those flow tests. And
Yeah.
what the flow tests do is they also help synchronize the model.
Okay.
That's really what it ends up doing, so that data is that as the water system grows, you have that data that's available for people. So.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All
that's
right. Mr. Molitor?
I've had this discussion with Mr. Barone, and I think others of the opinion as well, that timing of our packets, like to propose we move that timing up. Ideally, I'd like to see them on Wednesday. I'm hearing that there's some timing issues with getting out payroll that would prevent that, but I think we were talking about Thursday.
Yeah, and I've talked with staff too, so I
Yeah.
agree.
So, okay.
I agree too.
Yeah.
That would be
just to
I think
follow up on that
that's
quickly.
unanimous.
All in favor, say no. But I think we're going to keep it on the current normal timeline for the remaining meeting of this year, but starting 2018, we'll try to crank packets out on Thursday, as I mentioned to Mr. Molitor when we talked about it today. And Kris has volunteered to help Angie, but there are some weeks when payroll and claims that she works on for the packet occur on the same week. Our council meetings are first and third, our payroll is every 2 weeks regardless.
Right.
And so sometimes when you get the fifth Monday, it lines them up so they're on the same week, and then when you get another meeting that's on the fifth Monday, it puts it back on opposite weeks, and then it just kind of jumps back and forth depending on the calendar. So I'd say it's
And
about
that could come out, the claims could come out on Friday, for instance, as long as the rest of the agenda came out on Thursday. We can work on that.
Then I think we're just making more problems for Kris. So.
Okay. Well,
That-
let's,
distribution,
Yeah,
but
that doesn't work well.
I think we can do it. We'll just see how
Okay.
it goes. If we really feel like we're overwhelmed and understaffed on this one, we'll let you know, but I think we can accomplish what you guys want, and at least get an additional work day. So we'll just, and if something doesn't make it by the packet Thursday now, sorry, it's the
Right.
next meeting, so not that we want that to happen, but
What's the conflict that Kris has? What's the issue with if we have the agenda come out earlier than the
Council table the claims or claims list.
claims if they come out later?
Well, you don't have a complete packet then, and then when you're having, with our transparency, it's putting it out on the website, it's just added, you're basically doing everything twice. Instead of just doing it once. And I have volunteered on those weeks with Angie that I will help her do the AP so that we can meet the Thursday deadline.
Yeah.
Okay,
we'll give it a try. Like
Yeah.
I said, I brought it up at because I heard from different times, different council members saying the same thing, and so I said, hey, I think we're gonna hear about this soon, so just know it's coming. I'm gonna propose that we do it clean starting 2018. We'll see what happens, but I think we'll be fine. So,
Okay, good.
sorry to interrupt your.
That's
Anything else?
One other thing I would like to get on, at least find out from people's thoughts. Currently within our, and David, you can help me out with details here, but currently within our code, I believe planned use developments are not allowed on parcels under 8 acres unless they're adjacent to another planned use development.
There's more criteria, but yeah, that's
Right.
one of the list. There's a list of criteria, yes.
Right. I would like to revisit that particular item because it is allowing for planned use developments to pile on, if you will.
Piggyback on.
Piggyback on each other where it probably isn't intended, as they are generally not popular with the neighbors. And suddenly now you get one and then you get two and then now you set the trend for more and more. So I would like to, at some point, not this year, but next year, I'd have an interest in revisiting that.
We'll bring it back at a work session and can have the information in terms of what it all is and then look at it. Okay. All right.
Thanks. That's all I have.
Okay.
The WCC meeting was the tree lighting event, and I was not able to go. Did anybody go?
I had other things going on too, so yeah.
So that was it?
Okay.
Nothing to report this time?
Okay. Real quick, I attended the Gillespie board meeting, also the Regional Council of Mayors meeting on Monday the 13th. And then I will be attending the Metro Cities LMC conference next week, and I will also be attending the Planning Commission meeting, which is on Monday the 27th. And that's all I have. So I think we have accomplished everything on our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Mortenson made that motion and Mr. Molitor seconded that. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes 5-0. And we are done in record time.
Ooh, yes.
So, again, happy Thanksgiving all.
Yes.
Thank you, you too.